Hello children, today we are going to read the story The Cop and the Anthem written by O. Henry. The Cop and the Anthem. Soapy moved endlessly on his seat in Madison Square. Winters were approaching. He had to find some way to take care of himself during the cold weather. His hopes for the winter were not very high. He was not thinking of sailing away on a ship. 3 months in the prison on Blackwell's Island was what he wanted. 3 months of food every day and a bed every night. 3 months safe from the cold north wind and safe from cops. This seemed to Soapy the most desirable thing in the world. There were many easy ways of doing this. The most pleasant way was to go and have a good dinner at some fine restaurant. Then he would say that he had no money to pay, and then a cop would be called and it would all be done. So children, in this page we have come to know that Soapy moved endlessly on his seat, and Soapy was thinking about the coming winter, the chill weather, and she wanted to save himself from this cold wind, cold weather, and for this he wanted to be in prison for 3 months. The hopes for winter was not very high for him, but he only wanted to be in prison for 3 months, food to eat, bed to sleep, and that's enough for him. So for this, to do this, he was thinking of many ways, and he thought the most pleasant way to do this, that means to go inside prison, was to go to any restaurant, good restaurant, and eat and have dinner, and then say that he had no money. Then the restaurant owner will call the police and he will be kept in prison. So he thought that it was the most pleasant way to go inside the prison. Let's see what happened next. इस पेज में हम लोग क्या देख रहे हैं, सोपी जो है वो बहुत ही वर्ried है बिकॉज विंटर वॉज अप्रोचिंग, और ये कोल्ड विंटर में कैसे अपने खुद को वो बचाए कोल्ड वेदर से, तो इसके लिए वो सोच रहे हैं कि क्या करे। तो सोपी का होप इतना हाई नहीं है कि वो विंटर में क्या करेंगे, शिप में घूमने जाएंगे कहीं पे, तो इतना हाई तो होप नहीं है। सोपी सिर्फ सोच रहे हैं कि 3 मंथ्स के लिए वो जेल में चले जाए, प्रिजन में चले जाए। ये कहाँ पे है? ये है ब्लैकवेल्स आइलैंड में। ये प्रिजन कहाँ पे है? ब्लैकवेल्स आइलैंड में। तो वहाँ पे वो चले जाए 3 मंथ्स के लिए। 3 मंथ्स में उनको क्या होगा, उनको फूड मिलेगा खाने के लिए एवरीडे, बेड मिलेगा सोने के लिए। तो यही सोपी सोच रहे कि उनके लिए बहुत है। अब कोई प्रिजन में कैसे जा सकता है जब तक ना वो कोई गलत काम ना करे, तब तक तो नहीं जा सकते हैं। तो सोपी अभी सोच रहे कि क्या किया जाए ताकि प्रिजन में जाया जाए। ठीक है, तो सोपी ने सोचा कि इसका सबसे अच्छा वे है क्या, कोई रेस्टोरेंट में जाते हैं, अच्छे सा डिनर करते हैं और फिर बोलते हैं कि मेरे पास तो पैसा नहीं है। तो फिर क्या करेंगे, रेस्टोरेंट ओनर उनको पुलिस बुला के उनको प्रिजन में डाल देंगे। तो ये सबसे अच्छा वे है। ओके, इससे डिनर भी हो जाएगा बहुत अच्छे रेस्टोरेंट में और प्रिजन में भी जा पाएंगे जैसे कि वो चाहते थे। ओके, सो नेक्स्ट पेज। It would all be done very quietly. The cop would arrest him. He would be taken to a judge. The judge would do the rest. Sophie left his seat and walked out of Madison Square to the place where the great street called Broadway and Fifth Avenue meet. He went across this wide space and started north to Broadway. He stopped at a large and brightly lit restaurant. This was where the best food was served and the best people in the best clothes appeared every the best people in the best clothes appeared every evening. Soapy believed that above his legs he looked all right. His face was clean, his coat was good enough. If he could get to a table, he believed that success would be his. So we can see Soapy did the same as he thought. He went to a very brightly lit restaurant where very good food was served and best people in best clothes appeared every evening. So Sophie thought that he was good enough above his legs and he would be able to get a table and the success would be his. What was the success? The success to go prison, to go into prison. So this was success for him. Let's see what happened next. सोपी जैसे सोचे थे वैसे ही किए. क्या किए, एक रेस्टोरेंट जो कि था मेडिसन स्क्वायर में, तो वो रेस्टोरेंट में वो गए, सामने गए रेस्टोरेंट के. ये बहुत ही ब्राइटली लेट रेस्टोरेंट था, एकदम एकदम बहुत ज़्यादा ये अच्छा था. और इसमें क्या था, बेस्ट पीपल, बेस्ट फूड सर्व किए जाते थे, बेस्ट फूड सर्व किए जाते थे. बेस्ट पीपल यहाँ पे बहुत अच्छे क्लोथ्स पहन के यहाँ पे आते थे. तो सोफी सोचे कि वैसे तो अबव लेग्स वो उसका अपीयरेंस जो है वो सही है, तो वो क्या कर सकते हैं, वो एक टेबल मिल जाएगा उनको, वो वहाँ पे खाना खाएंगे और उसके बाद जो वो चाहते थे वही होगा, उनको सक्सेस मिलेगा. सक्सेस यानी वो प्रिजन में जा सकते हैं. ओके, बट एज सोपी पुट हिज फूड इनसाइड द रेस्टोरेंट डोर, the head waiter saw his broken old shoes and the torn clothes that covered his legs. Strong and ready hands turned Soapy round and moved him quietly and quickly outside again. Soapy turned off Broadway, but Sophie did not get the success. As Sophie entered the restaurant, the head waiter came and strongly moved him outside the restaurant. So Sophie turned off Broadway. At a corner of 6th Avenue was a shop with a wide glass window, bright with electric lights. Sophie picked up a big stone and threw it through the glass. People came running around the corner. A cop was the first among them. Soapy stood still and he smiled when he saw the cop. "Where's the man who did that?" asked the cop. "Don't you think that I might have done it?" said Soapy. He was friendly and happy. What he wanted was coming towards him. So children, you can see what happened. This is very interesting. So when Soapy was unsuccessful at his first attempt, then Soapy turned back Broadway and at a shop, it had a wide glass window. Soapy picked up a big stone and threw it through the glass. Then people came running and a cop also came running, and the cop asked. Sophie was standing there smiling because he thought that at last what he wanted, he will get that. But the cop asked Sophie that asked the cop asked him that who have done this, who have broke the window. But Sophie said that it was him. Don't the cop thought that it was him who did this? But the cop was very friendly, and he said, but the cop's mind would not consider Soapy. Men who break windows do not stop there to talk to cops. They run away as fast as they can. The cop saw a man further along the street running. He ran after him, and Soapy walked slowly away. He had failed twice. So the cop thought, one who break window do not stop there and to talk to cop. So it was not Soapy. He was confirmed. The cop was confirmed that it was not Soapy who who broke the glass. Okay, who broke the window. So he saw a man was running before him. So he ran after the man as he thought he might did so. So Sophie was failed again. तो यहाँ पे हम लोग क्या देख रहे हैं, जब फर्स्ट टाइम सोपी को रेस्टोरेंट से बाहर निकाल दिया गया, सोपी जो चाहते थे वो नहीं हुआ. सोपी क्या किए, एक बिग शॉप के पास आए और वहाँ पे क्या था, एक ग्लास डोर था, विंडो था, ग्लास विंडो था. तो सोपी ने क्या किया, एक बिग स्टोन उठाए और विंडो की तरफ थ्रो किए. तो सोच ही सकते हैं विंडो टूट गया. तो वहाँ पे जितने भी जो खड़े थे सब दौड़ दौड़ के आए. उसमें थे एक पुलिसमैन भी थे, वो भी आए. तो सोफी से उन्होंने पूछा कि आपने देखा है ये कौन किए. सोफी बोले कि आपको नहीं लगता ये मैंने किए. तो वो पुलिसमैन बोले, नहीं, जो ऐसा काम करेगा, जो विंडो को ब्रेक करेगा, वो थोड़ी खड़ा रहेगा पुलिसमैन के साथ बात करने के लिए और बताने के लिए कि मैंने किया. तो ये आपने तो बिल्कुल नहीं किया. तो तभी उनको पुलिसमैन को दिखाई दिया कि एक कोई भाग रहे थे, सामने कोई भाग रहे थे. तो उनको लगा कि ये वो ही किए होंगे. तो वो भी उनके पीछे भागने लगे और सोफी फिर से फेल हो गए. जो वो चाहते थे वो नहीं हुआ, प्रिजन में जाना नहीं हुआ, इस टाइम भी नहीं हुआ. लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपेंड नेक्स्ट. But across the street was another restaurant. It was not as fine as the one off Broadway. The people who went there were not as rich. The food was not as good. Into this, Soapy took his old shoes and his torn clothes, and no one stopped him. He sat down at a table and was soon eating a big dinner. Now Soapy went to another restaurant. It was not as good as the first one, but here Soapy entered the restaurant with his broken shoes. Okay, with his broken shoes, he entered the restaurant and he had a great dinner there. So, next page. When he had finished, he said that he had no money. Go, call a cop, said Soapy. No cop for you, said the waiter. He called another waiter. The two waiters threw Soapy up on his left ear on the hard street outside. He stood up slowly, one part at a time, and beat the dust from his clothes. So this time you can see prison seemed only a happy dream for Soapy. So you can see this time also they did not call police cops. So they just threw him outside the restaurant. तो यहाँ पे हम लोग देखें कि इसके बाद क्या किए, थर्ड अटेम्प्ट में उन्होंने क्या किए, सोफी ने क्या किए, जो को वो चाहते थे प्रिजन में जाना, उसके लिए उन्होंने क्या किए, एक और रेस्टोरेंट में गए, जो कि पहले रेस्टोरेंट जैसा उतना अच्छा तो नहीं था पर ठीक ठाक था। और इसमें क्या किए, सोफी अपने ब्रोकन शूज़ से भी एंटर कर पाए, उनको कोई रोके नहीं, तो वो जाके अच्छा सा डिनर विनर खाए। फिर क्या किए, अभी वो बोले मेरे पास तो मनी नहीं है, जाइए कॉप्स को बुलाइए। हाँ, वो चाहते ही तो थे ना कि आए, कॉप्स आए, पुलिसमैन आए और उनको पकड़ के लेके जाए। पर वेटर ने क्या किया, बोला नहीं आपके लिए हम कॉप्स को नहीं बुलाएंगे। तो उन्होंने क्या किया, एक और वेटर को बुलाया और दोनों मिलके सोफी को क्या किए, रेस्टोरेंट के बाहर फेंक दिए। ठीक है। तो सोफी अभी सोच रहे, ही स्टूड अप स्लोली, उन्हें उठे और अपने डस्ट को बीट द डस्ट फ्रॉम हिज क्लोथ्स से डस्ट को फेंके। फिर क्या सोचे वो, प्रिजन सीम्ड ओनली अ हैप्पी ड्रीम, प्रिजन जो है वो सोफी के लिए सिर्फ एक हैप्पी ड्रीम बन गया। अ कॉप हु वाज स्टैंडिंग नियर लाफ्ड एंड वॉकड अवे, वहीं पे कॉप भी खड़े थे, ठीक है, पुलिसमैन, वो भी हंस से और चल दिए। सोचिए, जो कि चाहता था सोफी वो हो ही नहीं रहा है। Sophie traveled almost half a mile before he tired again. When he stopped, he was near several theaters. He saw a cop standing in front of a big theater. He thought of something else to try. He began to shout if he had as if he had had too much to drink. He danced, he cried out, but the cop turned his back to Soapy and said to a man standing near him, "It's one of those college boys. He won't hurt anyone. Let him shout." So this time, Sophie tried another trick. When Sophie saw he was near several theaters and cop was standing there. So Sophie tried another trick. Sophie shouted too much, like too much. He was drunk and he danced and he cried. So pretending like he was drunk, but uh, the cop did not reply to him. The cop was not interested to to got him. So he was just said that Sophie was one of those college boys. He didn't hurt anyone, so let him go, said the cop. Okay. So this time again, Sophie failed. तो इस बार क्या हुआ, इस बार आप लोग देख सकते हैं कि कहीं पे सोफी ने देखा कि कॉप्स भी थे वहाँ पे, थिएटर्स थे वहाँ पे। क्या किए, सोफी बहुत चिल्लाए, बहुत शाउट किए ताकि वो कॉप्स आए और उनको पकड़े। पर कॉप्स सोचे कि ये वो कॉलेज बॉयज़ में से कोई है, ये सिर्फ शाउट ही तो कर रहा है, किसी को कोई हार्म तो नहीं किया, इसको बस छोड़ ही देते हैं। तो सोफी अगेन जो सोच रहा था वो हुआ नहीं। Sophie was quiet. Was no cop going to touch him? At last, Sophie came to one of the quiet streets on the east side of the city. He turned here and began to walk south towards Madison Square Garden. He was going home. So, at last, Sophie was going home. Although his home was only a seat in the park. But on a very quiet corner, Sophie stopped. So at last, Sophie turned to his home. It was towards the Madison Square Garden, and his home was only a seat in the park. So when he was returning, something happened. Let's see. Sophie stopped. Here was an old church. Through one colored glass window came a soft light. Sweet music came to Sophie's ears and seemed to hold him there. And the anthem that came from the church held Sophie there, for he had known it well long ago. So this time, Sophie was near a church. It was an old church. So this time, Sophie was near an old church, and sweet music was coming from there, and Sophie was standing there. It was an anthem. It was known to him long ago. It was those days when his life contained such things as mother and flowers and high hopes and friends and clean thoughts and clean clothes. You can see these are the symbols of good life. So these were in Sophie's life long ago, and he reminded them there in front of the church with the sweet music. तो आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पे जब एक सोफ़ी एक चर्च के सामने खड़े थे, तो चर्च में से एक म्यूज़िक आ रहा था, स्वीट म्यूज़िक, जो कि एंथम था, जो कि कभी सोफ़ी जानते थे, इस एंथम को जानते थे। ये उस टाइम का बात था जब सोफ़ी के लाइफ में क्या था, मदर, फ्लावर्स, हाई होप्स, यानी बहुत ही वो उनके ऊंचे ऊंचे ड्रीम्स थे लाइफ को लेके, फ्रेंड्स थे, क्लीन थॉट्स थे, वो बहुत अच्छा सोच थे उनके लाइफ में, और क्या, क्लीन क्लोथ्स थे। तो आप सोच सकते हैं कि ये उस टाइम का बात था जब सोफ़ी की लाइफ बहुत अच्छे थे, तब वो इस एंथम को भी जानते थे। तो वही सब कुछ सोफ़ी को याद आ रहा था। There was a sudden and wonderful change in his soul. He would fight to change his life. He would make a man of himself again. There was time. He was young enough. He would find his old purpose in his life and follow it. That sweet music had changed him. Tomorrow he would find work. So you can see the sweet music had changed him so much that he was thinking of those high hopes that he left behind many years ago. So he thought to walk again, to change his life. He would fight again, and he would make a man of himself again. That was the time. So as he was young enough, and so he was wanted to find his old purpose in life again. Okay, so in this we can see the sweet music, the anthem changed him from inside, and he was encouraged again to get his old life back. He wanted to fight again to get that beautiful life again. तो यहाँ पे हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि सोफ़ी जब वो म्यूज़िक सुने तो उनको उनका पास्ट याद आ गया कि उनकी लाइफ कैसा था, क्या होप्स थे उनके लाइफ में। तो इस मोमेंट में उनके अंदर बहुत सारे चेंज हो गए, और वो सोचे नहीं, फिर से फाइट करेंगे। वो तभी भी यंग ही थे, तो वो लड़ेंगे अपने जो होप्स थे उनको फुलफिल करने के लिए। वो फिर से लड़ेंगे, वो कोई काम करेंगे, ठीक है, वो फाइट करेंगे अपने लाइफ के लिए। तो वो स्वीट म्यूज़िक उनको चेंज कर दिए थे। उन्होंने सोचा कि टुमारो ही वुड फाइंड वर्क, कल वो एक काम ढूंढेंगे। A man had once offered him a job. He would find that man tomorrow. He would be somebody in the he would be somebody in the field. He would be somebody in the world. Sophie felt a hand on his arm. He looked quietly round into the beard face of a cop. What are you doing hanging around here? Asked the cop. Nothing, said Sophie. You think I believe that? Said the cop. Full of his new strength, Sophie began to argue, and it is not wise to argue with a New York cop. Come along, said the cop. 3 months on the island, said the judge to Sophie the next morning. So here you can see a twist in the story. After so many tricks, when Sophie wanted to go into prison, he was failed. But when he heard the music, heard the sweet song, heard the anthem, and planned to change his life, he was quite encouraged. But at that time, we can see a twist in the story. When he was there, standing there in front of the church, uh, he felt an arm, and it was a cop. So, and he was arguing with the cop, which was not a wise job, which was not a wise work. He was arguing with the cop, and the cop caught him, and the next day the judge said that 3 months on the island, that means he was punished to be in prison 3 months on the island. So that was all Sophie wanted. But at last, when he had planned to change his life, it happened what he wanted at first. So you can see this is a twist in the story. आप देख सकते हैं कि जब वो स्वीट सॉन्ग सुन के वो सोफी सोचे कि अभी वो फाइट करेंगे, अपनी लाइफ को चेंज करेंगे, तो तभी एक कॉप वहाँ पे आए. वो कॉप पूछे कि यहाँ पे क्या कर रहे हो. ओके, तो फिर सोफी जब बोल रहे थे कि नहीं मैंने कुछ नहीं किया, हम सिर्फ खड़े थे, तो ये आर्ग्यू हो गया ना. और न्यूयॉर्क कॉप के साथ आर्ग्यू करना कोई सही बात नहीं है, ये सोफी को पता चल गया. सोफी को पकड़ के लिया गया और नेक्स्ट डे जज ने क्या सुनाया. नेक्स्ट डे जज बोले कि सोफी को 3 मंथ्स इन प्रिजन, 3 मंथ्स के लिए प्रिजन में रखा जाएगा. वही आइलैंड में, वही जो सोफी चाहते थे एट फर्स्ट वही हुआ, एट लास्ट जाके वही हुआ. पर ये ऐसे तो नहीं होना था, क्योंकि अभी सोफी नहीं चाहते थे. सोफी चाहते थे कुछ अच्छा काम करे, अपने लाइफ को चेंज करे, तभी ये हुआ. तो ये ट्विस्ट हम लोग स्टोरी में देख सकते हैं. सो दिस इज़ अ वेरी गुड स्टोरी written by O. Henry. You children read the story again, and in our next class we will write the question answers of this story. Thank you.